Welcome to Sovereign Moves. I'm your chief strategic forecaster. Today, we're dissecting the rapidly collapsing security architecture in the Middle East. Let's get right into it. What you're about to see is a real-time assessment of a highly volatile theater of operations. We're looking at a landscape where massive military assets just vanish, vital trade routes choke out, and shadow alliances are fundamentally rewriting the rules of engagement. Section 1. May 6th. The signal vanishes. The war has officially moved into the invisible spectrum, and we're starting our assessment at 0 hour. At precisely 0500 hours, an American KC-135 stratotanker disappeared from radar over the highly contested waters of the Strait of Hormuz. We aren't talking about a small frontline fighter jet here. This is a massive, highly trackable flying gas station that acts as the absolute backbone of U.S. air operations in the region. There's no debris, there's no crash site, just silence. Let's analyze the aircraft's final pattern. The tracking data shows the tanker departing from Al Dhafra and then entering a circular holding pattern. Now, strategically, that's a classic indicator of troubleshooting in the air. It squawked a 7700 general emergency code and then went entirely dark. The aircraft's last known trajectory pointed straight toward Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which sits exactly 500 kilometers northwest of the strait. For an airframe of that immense size to just disappear over this specific corridor points to a severe, instantaneous disruption. Almost immediately after the signal dropped, 2 H-125 light utility helicopters were launched out of Al Udeid for search and rescue. An aggressive response like that signals a suspected casualty event. It's a grim echo of the March 12th collision over Iraq that killed 6 crew members, proving that these critical logistical assets are simply no longer safe behind the front lines. Section 2. The Phoenix Protocol Revealed. This physical disappearance is merely a symptom. We are actively witnessing the Phoenix Protocol Revealed, a massive, regional electronic blackout. The crucial piece to understand here is the distress signal itself. That 7700 squawk code universally indicates a general emergency. But in the Persian Gulf right now, under these conditions, this points to systemic electronic disruption rather than just a mechanical failure. The airspace is completely saturated with interference. Let me give you a sense of the scale here. Navigation systems across the entire region are heavily compromised. Our data shows that GPS signals are currently being spoofed and offset by a massive margin of 500 meters. Imagine your car's GPS telling you you're cruising down the highway, but you're actually half a kilometer away, driving blind straight into a lake. That's the exact reality these pilots are navigating right now. This electronic blackout has effectively turned the strait into the black hole of Hormuz. Regional-level jamming is highly active. Merchant AIS tracking systems are completely dead. And noticeably, there's zero crash confirmation from CENTCOM, and no debris has been located. The signal simply ceased to exist, in a zone where visibility is being systematically erased. Section 3. Trump's Tactical Pause. As the electronic spectrum goes completely dark, the geopolitical calculus above the surface has suddenly, violently shifted. Through an announcement on Truth Social, President Trump initiated a diplomatic pause on the Project Freedom escort mission, citing requests from Pakistani mediators. But it's absolutely vital to note that the U.S. naval blockade on Iran remains absolute and unyielding. The pause only applies to escorting neutral ships, not the economic strangulation of Iranian ports. To maintain this absolute blockade, the United States has deployed a massive, highly lethal force structure. The perimeter is actively being enforced by 15,000 service members, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, and a formidable ring of guided missile destroyers. It is literally an iron ring around the entire Persian Gulf. So what does this actually mean for global trade? We're looking at economic arson. The effect is catastrophic. Daily commercial transits have plummeted from a historical average of 138 ships down to just 5 isolated transits on May 4th. This dual-sided blockade represents a stunning 90% collapse in commercial traffic since the war began. We're talking about a massive choke point that normally carries 20% of the world's seaborne oil supply. The U.S. naval ring and Iran's reciprocal threats have completely frozen the main artery of global energy. Market forecasters are coldly assessing this reality. Right now, current prediction markets place the odds of a full reopening of the strait before June at under 40%. The economic leverage currently sitting on the board is immense, and frankly, neither side is blinking. Section 4. The Russian Eye in the Sky. Beneath all this diplomatic maneuvering and economic tension, a shadow alliance has fundamentally evolved the kill chain. Let's look at the Russian intelligence apparatus. Intelligence assessments reveal a highly structured sharing protocol. 24 Russian satellite surveys across 11 Middle Eastern countries have been directly feeding live targeting data to Iranian crews. The fog of war is literally being lifted for Tehran. For example, Russian satellites surveyed Prince Sultan Air Base, and just days later it was hit by an Iranian strike targeting U.S. assets. Couple this with coordinated Russian-Iranian cyber network penetration, and we're looking at a highly evolved, lethal hybrid warfare capability. Section 5, UAE infrastructure under fire. This enhanced targeting capability isn't sitting idle. It's actively bleeding into neighboring territories, bringing the United Arab Emirates directly into the crosshairs. We're now tracking the second consecutive day of Iranian aerial attacks on the UAE. The Ministry of Defense detected 4 inbound cruise missiles. 3 were intercepted over territorial waters, while the 4th crashed into the sea. The target vector was crystal clear: critical energy infrastructure in the Fuzura region. The collateral damage to civilian life is immediate and sweeping. In response to these aerial threats swarming the region, all UAE schools were forced to shift to remote online learning from May 5th to May 8th. The footprint of this war zone is rapidly expanding. Section 6, the Sovereign Strategic Verdict. We must now evaluate the aggregate strategic leverage currently on the board. The diplomatic pause we're seeing right now, it's merely the silence before the storm. As it stands, the U.S. naval blockade has successfully trapped 31 loaded tankers right in the Persian Gulf. These are immobilized assets sitting on a highly volatile chessboard. To put numbers to that, it equates to 53 million barrels of halted Iranian oil. That wipes a critical $4.8 billion right off the table. Because of this, Iranian storage capacity has hit its absolute limit, forcing Tehran to physically slash oil production to avoid catastrophic field damage. It's a slow, methodical, ruthless economic strangulation. Over the next 12 hours, expect the parameters of this conflict to test the absolute limits of the Pakistani-brokered pause. The visible metrics of war, like commercial transits and diplomatic statements, are completely frozen. But the electronic blackout continues. The signals are dead. What is moving in the dark?